They said she should have known better than to hope for anything good. They said life had already taken enough from her. Her legs, her dreams, her confidence, and it was foolish to imagine that love would ever knock on her door. So when the group of boys from her university set her up on a blind date with a billionaire CEO, pretending the man had a special interest in girls like her, they expected her to be humiliated. They expected her to roll into that restaurant, trembling with hope, only to realize she was the punchline of a cruel joke. But what none of them expected was how the CEO would react, or how one encounter in a quiet candle-lit restaurant would leave everyone involved questioning themselves, broken in guilt, and forever changed. Before continuing, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity that still shines in unexpected places, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your support helps us continue telling stories that touch the heart. Mira had always been the quiet girl, the one who tried not to take up space, even though her wheelchair unavoidably drew eyes wherever she went. At 22, she had learned to live with stares, whispers, and the subtle pity hidden behind forced smiles. After the accident 3 years ago, her world had grown smaller. Doors she once walked through freely now felt heavy. Dreams she once carried lightly now sat like weights on her chest. Still, she tried. Every day, she studied, laughed when she could, worked part-time online, and refused to let sadness swallow her alive. But loneliness had a way of sneaking up on her, especially when her classmates made plans and she wasn't invited, when she watched couples walk hand in hand across campus, when she saw herself reflected in glass windows, a girl seated while the world moved around her. Her classmates weren't cruel in obvious ways. Their cruelty was subtle, coated in fake politeness, wrapped in sweet tones that hid sharp edges. The kind that smiled while discussing charity projects but shared memes mocking her rolling to class moments later. So when two of them approached her whispering excitedly about a man, an incredible man, who wanted to meet her, Mira felt something warm spark in her chest. They told her he was handsome, successful, the CEO of a major company in the city, and that he had seen her during a guest lecture and wanted to know her better. It sounded unbelievable, but for once, she let herself hope. She didn't know that behind her back, those same students were laughing because the CEO, Armin Hale, had never said such a thing. Their plan was simple: send her into a fancy restaurant alone, let her wait, let her hope, and watch her heart crack when no one showed. They even planned to sit at a distance and film her reaction. A joke, they said. Just harmless fun. But fate had plans of its own. Armin Hale, 34, the man they mentioned as part of their twisted prank, unexpectedly walked into that same restaurant that evening. He had meetings nearby and decided to stop in for a quiet dinner. He wasn't the kind of CEO who brushed shoulders with billionaires while ignoring the world beneath him. He was thoughtful, observant, scarred by a painful past of growing up poor and watching his mother being overlooked by society. Sometimes, small scenes could break him, like seeing someone left out, someone hurting. When Mira entered the restaurant wearing her simplest dress, the soft peach fabric flowing around her like hope wrapped in cloth, her hands trembling on the wheels of her chair, Armin noticed her immediately. Not because she was in a wheelchair, but because she looked like someone waiting for something that mattered. Someone trying not to shake. Someone swallowing fear. She moved toward a table set for two, her eyes flicking to the door again and again. And Armin's heart pulled in a way he hadn't expected. He recognized the expression, hope battling terror. He had worn it many times himself when he was younger, waiting for people who never came. Across the restaurant, the group of students watched, stifling laughter. Mira sat for minutes that felt like hours. She smiled at the waiter awkwardly. She rearranged her hair again. She whispered something to herself, maybe telling herself that everything would be okay. Her confidence slowly drained from her eyes. Armin couldn't bear it anymore. He stood, walked toward her, and gently pulled out the chair opposite her, not knowing she thought he was the very man she came to meet. And in that moment, everything changed. He didn't introduce himself as the CEO. He didn't question who she was waiting for. He simply sat down, looked her in the eyes with a softness that made Mira inhale sharply, and asked the waiter to bring the menu. He spoke calmly, gently, giving her room to breathe, room to exist without fear of being mocked. The students who planned the prank froze. Their laughter died, their phones lowered. As the evening unfolded, Armin learned more with every passing minute. He noticed how Mira hesitated before lifting her glass, as if worried she might spill it. He saw how she apologized too often. How she paused before answering questions, as if waiting to be laughed at. And silently, he understood, someone had hurt her. Many people, probably. Life had carved out pieces of her confidence, piece by piece. By the time the dinner ended, Armin knew exactly what had been planned for her. He had overheard enough whispers from the students crouched behind decorative plants. But instead of confronting them publicly, he chose something far more powerful. He stood, walked to Myra's side, and gently placed his hand on the back of her wheelchair. Not possessively, supportively, as if saying, "You matter. You deserve respect. I'm here." Then he rolled her out of the restaurant himself. The students watched in stunned silence. Because instead of humiliation, the girl they tried to mock was being treated with more care, respect, and humanity than any of them had ever received. Outside, under the glow of streetlights, Mira asked him softly if he really wanted to spend time with her. Her voice trembled as if she feared the truth would shatter her. Armin knelt beside her, looked her straight in the eyes, and told her that she deserved nights like this, not because of pity, not because of charity, but because she was worth knowing. Her smile, small but real, was the most painful and beautiful thing he had seen in years. Over the next weeks, Armin showed her what real kindness looked like. He brought her to parks where the paths were smooth enough for her chair. He introduced her to people who valued her talents and intelligence. He took her to places where she didn't have to be self-conscious. He helped her believe that she deserved to be seen. Meanwhile, guilt began to crush the students who planned the prank. They watched from a distance as Myra's life changed, how her confidence grew, how her smile became less guarded, how the CEO they used for a joke had become her protector, her encourager, her safe place. Word eventually reached Armin about how deeply the prank had wounded her. He called the students to meet. They came expecting anger, expecting revenge. Instead, Armin walked in with Mira beside him. He spoke calmly, choosing dignity over humiliation. He told them they had a chance to be better humans. To grow from this, to consider the weight of their actions. Some cried, some apologized sincerely, and some walked out ashamed. But Mira, she forgave them, not for them, for herself, because she refused to let bitterness claim the last pieces of her heart. Her life slowly blossomed after that. She started a disability awareness page online. She began giving motivation talks at universities. She stopped apologizing for being alive. And through every step, every high, every fear, Armin walked beside her. When the day came that he confessed his feelings, he didn't kneel. He didn't give a rehearsed speech. He simply told her that she had healed parts of him he didn't know were broken, and he wanted to spend his life reminding her of her own strength. And she believed him, because he had proven it long before he said it. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life.